Hello everyone, I'm Babla Jonathan and this is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast over Equinoxe television. We're coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories, Boko Haram militants continue attacking villages in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon. In a recent attack in Mayo Moscota, 3 persons were taken away. A new human rights report reveals a gloomy human rights situation in Cameroon. Among the civil society organization has documented increasing human rights violations and abuse in the country. In the meantime, access to clean water remains a major challenge across the African continent, directly affecting negatively the lives, health, and education of millions of vulnerable children. Those are top stories. Stay with us. Now we begin in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, where inhabitants of several villages along the porous borders with neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria are living in fear and uncertainty as a result of recurrent Boko Haram attacks. Attacks by militants of the Boko Haram sect have continued in the far north region of the country, and a recent attack in Mayo Moscota, at least 3 persons were taken away, and inhabitants are now calling on government to take quick action to remedy the situation. We have details with Mala Glory.
Family members cling to one another with faces looking pale, exhausted and consumed by grief. This is after a brutal Sunday night assault as the Boko Haram militants targeted the village entrance, especially attacking the local vigilante committee base in Mayo Moscota in the Mayo Tanaga division of the far north region.
3
people, including a local prince, were kidnapped. One witness testified that after an elder urged everyone to secure their premises and stay calm, militants suddenly seized him and took him away. These unpaid vigilantes are the eyes and ears of the national security, but face heavily armed terrorists with nothing but machetes and sticks. We are pleading with the government to develop strategies and negotiate with the abductors so that our people can be freed.
Pour nous aider et pour réussir pour que nos 2 personnes rentrent sauf et sains dans leur domicile.
With no ransom demands made, locals believe the attack as systematically eliminating community defenses. Aside insecurity, the people present other worries.
L'état de l'éducation de nos enfants, on n'a même pas les...
Speaking of our children's education, we don't even have operational schools here, as they often face threats from terrorists.
Au niveau des cantons, là même, il y a des menaces tous les jours.
Coupled with the presence of the rainy seasons, washout that causes blocked roads, terrified villagers are fleeing towards the main town, while the local administrative authorities are now calling for urgent military reinforcement before local resistance collapses entirely.
Civil society leaders, right defenders are expressing concerns about the growing human rights violation and abuse in the Republic of Cameroon. A new report put together by civil society organization Mount Avenue has documented a series of human rights violations, especially in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country, but also in the far north region, where there is an external security problem with the recurrent attacks by Boko Haram militants from neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the report paints a bleak picture of the human rights situation of Cameroon. Details with Law Manieru in this report.
The numbers speak for themselves. The crisis hit northwest and southwest regions. Asymmetric violence claimed at least 134 lives in 2025. For the north, the terror group Boko Haram continues its deadly incursion. The far north region registered 259 killings this year alone. July marked a catastrophic peak with 40 civilian casualties in a single month, pushing local communities into deeper vulnerability. Civilians pay the heaviest price, with 80 recorded murdered, while clashes between defense forces and armed groups accounted for the rest. Regular citizens are suffering the most. Out of all the deaths, 372 were innocent civilians. 72 members of the State Defense Forces and 97 fighters from armed groups also lost their lives. The data also reveals a major rise in illegal arrests, with 2,500 cases recorded. On top of that, 377 people were kidnapped for ransom, and 44 incidents of fire and explosion destroyed local properties. But that is not the only weapon of terror. The report exposes a systematic pattern of kidnapping, counting 338 civilians' abduction. Currently, illegal and arbitrary detention skyrocketed in the final quarters, totaling 1,300 cases nationwide. The NGO reminds that this act flagrantly violates Cameroon's constitution, and Article 275 of its penal code outlines international treaties ratified by the states, call for accountability, justice, and immediate protection of civil liberties has never been more urgent. As these figures shine a harsh light on the ongoing crisis, local and international watchdogs urge for immediate structural reforms.
And another problem violating the rights of movement of Cameroonians is the bad situation of roads running across the country from north to south, east to west, from the major cities to the hinterlands. Many of the roads are in a deplorable state. And in the report coming up next, Immaculate Fogwe takes us to the West Regional Capital, Bafoussam. Her report.
Getting stuck in deep potholes filled with red mud is a daily ordeal faced by users of the Stade Congo area in Bafoussam 3 subdivision, West region of Cameroon. The poor state of the road has made movement extremely difficult. When you come here, you get stuck. Every time you have to look for children to push your car out of the pothole, and you have to give them money. Truly, you cannot even wash your car to enter the neighborhood. At the moment, it's difficult to enter here when it rains and even when it does not rain, because there are potholes everywhere. Despite the deteriorating condition of the road, some users say this route is still better compared to other roads leading into the West region. This is the best route. The other side is very bad. There is a hill with potholes and the bridge is already about to collapse. Even if someone passes there, it's very dangerous. This is the only way, so we are forced to use it. The suffering of residents around Congo Stadium and its surroundings has worsened since what used to be a recreational area was turned into a truck park. The road is bad. The trucks parked here are causing problems. The weight of the truck is damaging the condition of the road. They should not be here. While residents are calling for relocation of the truck park, truck drivers say they are organized and ready to help reduce the negative impact of their presence in the neighborhood.
And I told you in the headlines that difficult access to clean water remains a major challenge in many parts of Africa. It is a major challenge, and this situation is adversely affecting the health, education, and life of millions of vulnerable children across the continent. Many of the children having difficult access to potable water, even in urban areas, find themselves compelled to drink water of doubtful quality, exposing their health to several situations that sometimes lead to death. And this situation is disturbing to many civil society organizations who are calling on the governments of the different African countries to take adequate measures to improve on potable water supply across the country. Now we talk about news out of Cameroon. Attack perpetrated by jihadis suspected to belong to the Lukarawa group, targeted by U.S. airstrikes last December, has left at least 17 people dead The attacks have left at least 17 people dead, while northwestern Nigeria is also suffering from security challenges, and security has been a serious issue in the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria, with several people either killed or kidnapped in different parts of the country. We have details with our reporter Cedric Chakuto.
At least 17 farmers have been killed and 13 others wounded after gunmen attacked them while they were working on their farms in northwestern Nigeria, Zamfara state. The attack took place on Friday in Gorong Namaye, a town in the Marundum local government area. The injured were later taken to hospital for treatment. No group for now has claimed responsibility for the attack, but Zamfara has faced repeated raids by armed gangs involved in killings, kidnappings, and extortion. The killings come just a day after 39 people were abducted in Mangani Didi, another community in Maradung, where residents had reportedly gathered to discuss peace efforts with relatives of a suspected armed group leader. Elsewhere, in Bunia, the epicenter of the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, few people risk going out socializing for fear of catching the disease. Although bars and clubs remain open, they are struggling to attract many people. Staff are doing their best to help stem the spread of the disease by setting up hand washing stations and providing information on the disease. The number of confirmed Ebola cases in Congo has increased to 782 with 181 deaths.
World Cup 2026 is underway in the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico. But the drama is not only in the pitch, but it's also taking place out of the pitch. From flight delays to tornado alerts, teams are battling more than just opponents. Smanjik and Gabriel now tells us more.
Uruguay's World Cup start hit turbulence before kickoff. Marcelo Bielsa's squad was delayed leaving their Mexico base for Miami, where they faced Saudi Arabia Monday. The charter plane lacked U.S. flight clearance due to paperwork issues. The team remained at the Mayocoba resort near Cancun until a solution was found. The Uruguayan FA has expressed anger at FIFA, while FIFA has pointed to the airline for the permit problem. The U.S. heat is also taking a toll. Spain's La Roja were seen training in ice vest to combat the conditions ahead of their opener against World Cup debutants Cabo Verde. In Kansas City, where Algeria is based, tornado sirens were activated as a safety alert due to severe weather near the team's lodging. On the pitch, Germany's national Mannschaft now holds the tournament's highest scoreline after a 7-1 win over newcomers Curacao. But after the final whistle, German and Curacao players met at center field to pray together. German midfielder Felix Nemcha said, "During the game, we are adversaries, but after the match, we are Christians and brothers." Technology is also changing the game day experience. The fourth official is now using a tablet to track when TV commercial breaks end during hydration timeout, turning breaks into art opportunities at this World Cup. And in Japan, fans took to the streets to celebrate a 2-2 draw with the Netherlands. Police soon moved in, and the happy supporters quickly cleared the road. On and off the pitch, World Cup 2026 is delivering drama.
And that's it for the first part of this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. Coming up next, Talking Point. Our guest today is Shu Patrick, a human rights advocate. Shu Patrick, welcome to the program. We'll begin by asking you to give us a quick snapshot of the human rights situation of Cameroon as seen by your organization, Monde Avenir.
Yeah, obviously, as regards to the reports of 2025 that we just published, we see that the level has become more higher as compared to the recent years of 2023, 2024, where we had the incidents of murder, kidnapping, violence, explosion, and burning of houses in the northwest and southwest, and also in the north region of Cameroon. So we can elevate about 2,792 cases globally, violation and violence, as regards to 2023 and 2024, who were more lesser than 2025 cases collected during the recent years of the human rights violations in our country, Cameroon.
Right, about the northwest and southwest regions of the country, where the security tension remains quite volatile as a result of the close to 10-year-long armed conflict prevailing there. What is your organization saying about the situation there?
The rate is going higher as compared to the previous years because the violence is adding every blessed day, with killings, kidnapping by the separatists, or the illegal detention by the militaries and the other bodies that control our force. Then we have also the incident that is taking place in the northwest and southwest, which is kidnapping in exchange of ransom of money, which has become a flaw. We don't know if they are the separatists doing the issue, or it is different individuals who have become ambassadors in a different way to be kidnapping civilians in exchange of ransom of money. So the issue has become more rampant, more higher as compared to the previous years since 2016, where the crisis started to now.
Authorities are saying that the authorities are saying that there is a gradual return to normalcy. The situation has improved compared to previous years, but the organization, among the many, seems to be saying the contrary. How can you explain that?
Obviously, as compared to what the officials are saying, we say our report, we work with different focal points in the northwest and southwest regions, where they give us also their own reports. We can talk about Conscious African, which is in Bamenda, who work with us, who give us also they make their own reports as compared to the violations that takes place in the northwest and southwest. We have the Center for Human Rights in Africa, which is Shada of Abarista, who also give report as concerns to what the violations is taking place in the northwest and southwest. So if you look at our reports as compared to others, society organizations that work on the same issue like us, you see that we have the same issue that we report every year as compared to what the government is actually, because the government is giving some facts or some violences that are taking place, but I think that they have to see how to work hand in glove with civil society organizations that work in the human rights violations in the northwest and southwest to record the various violations that are taking place in the northwest and southwest.
Yes, but when you look at the major urban centers in particular, Bamenda, Boya, excluding Limbe, that has relatively been calm for the past 10 years, but there have also been some incidents there. Kumba and other places, and even places like Kambe, it can be seen that the frequency of attacks by armed men, the frequency of killings, the numbers seem to be dropping.
Look at since 2026, since January to now, last week, we can tell you about the various cases that were recorded. It was horrible. As regards to the forces of defense that were killed, a commander was killed last week with an official of the armed forces. Then you see other civilians that were killed in different areas, in Belo, in Kumbo subdivision. When you look at what is actually happening in the northwest and southwest, you see that the security situation in the northwest and southwest is very higher, and the insecurity is very higher as compared to the various years that when the crisis started. The things have become more insecurity have been taking place where the population are even afraid to go out during the night. By 6 p.m. some are already in their houses. They cannot go out because the situation is very rampant and very tedious. So I think that there's the high rate of insecurity in the northwest and southwest. So we are calling the attention of the government to see how to work on hand to eradicate.
What should the government be doing at this point in time?
As a Cameroonian, also as a civilian, I can only say the government have to put in place a dialogue where the government have to call the various leaders which they recognize as the leaders working behind on this crisis to sit in one table and see how they can work or bring ideas and make peace. Not the forum, not to call it a forum of peace, but to sit on a table and see how they can bring about peaceful or bring about mediation in the northwest and southwest, so that the population of the northwest and southwest can live in peace, in want, and from fear, as compared to what is actually happening in the northwest and southwest regions of our country.
Now let's go up north to take a look at the situation, notably the far north region of Cameroon, with the recurrent attacks by Boko Haram militants who make sporadic incursions into villages along the border with neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. The recent attack in Mayo Moscota, during that attack, at least 3 people were taken away by the attackers. And now, what's Amon Davini saying about this situation? What are your findings saying?
The situation in the north of Cameroon is also getting higher and higher. The insecurity rate is getting higher because Boko Haram's insurgents entered into various villages and burned the houses and kidnapped and killed the population. So the situation is getting more higher and more higher. There's too much of insecurity in the north part of Cameroon. So the government has to see how to bring about security purposes where they can sit and work with the population so that they can denounce any stranger that comes to their area, which they don't recognize as a member of the locality, so that they can report if there's a stranger. They should know who he or she is and where he or she comes from before living in that area, because most of them comes here, they come as spies. Then you see later on the insurgents will enter into the villages and burn houses without the consent or without knowing where the population are already asleep. Sometimes at 2 a.m. in the night, sometimes 9 p.m. where houses are burned in the north of Cameroon, where the population are asleep, which is very, 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 very bad. So the government have to see how to bring about a solution to that issue that is taking place in the north of Cameroon.
Human rights issue raising grave concerns is about children, the increasing rate of violence, sexual violence, torture against children and women, gender-based violence, with many women, more and more women being killed, tortured by their partners in different parts of the country. Give us an understanding of this situation as seen by organization.
Women have been killed, women have been beaten, some are in the hospitals, beaten by their husbands, but some are silenced because they are afraid that they can be, after hospitalized, they will be beaten back by their husband or they will be intimidated by their husbands. So most women, when they are victims of such incidents, they become silenced. They don't want to denounce the issue, but I will call the women of today that if your husband violates you, put a hand on you, you have to denounce it. There are social welfare where you have to denounce such type of issues so that they should take it serious and see how they can bring about a change in our country as regards to gender-based violence. As regards to what is happening to children nowadays, children of 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, 15 years, where a man of 68 years make a sexual abuse to a child of 11 years, I think that it's an abomination where we have to, a law have to be passed in the National Assembly as regards to such issues, where the government have to see how to punish these perpetrators, because a child of 1 year, I can give you an example of a child of some few months who was killed by one of their uncle because he was having a difference with the brother. I think that the government has to see what to really do with such issue, because the rate of assault as to children is becoming higher and more higher.
Some are advocating for life imprisonment and others the death penalty. What do you think about that?
I go for life imprisonment because it is an abomination for a man, an adult of 30 or and above, making sexual assault to a child of 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, 11 years, whereas there are other women outside, there are adult women outside. There are women and above. There are women, more women, the rate of women are higher than men in the world. So I don't see the situation where a man of 68 years will be causing an assault to a child of 11 years. It's an abomination.
Should be abused. No one should be violated. Shu Patrick, human rights advocate, thank you so much for coming to have this very important conversation with us in this edition of Talking Point. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for today. Thank you for staying with us. Goodbye.